I'm one of the two guys from Knowhere.
That's amazing. What is that?
Josh, you're drunk.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Two Guys from Knowhere, live from the Ritual Chamber. Today,
Should I have done that?
I think that was great. I love that. Today, we're going to be doing our review of a movie that I think we just had so much anticipation to see. It finally was released yesterday for us as we're recording this, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. So why don't you give us a quick synopsis?
Yay! The synopsis is kind of a moot point because all the commercials basically showed everything that happened, and for 2 years, everyone has theorized about what was going to happen. And damn them, they were all right.
Yes, they were.
They were all right. I did not want them to be right. I really did not want them to be right, and I will talk about that later.
Kind of ruined our intro, too.
It's fine. I totally ruined my intro. But everyone was right. But to give a quick summation, No Way Home follows our titular hero, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, as he deals with the ramifications of being outed as Spider-Man by Mysterio in the last film. And how that affects his life, his friend's life, his family's lives, and what he tries to do to fix it, and how he mucks that up.
Yes, with some growth and development. Very well said, though. That was
I tried.
Nice
I tried.
I like that.
I stammered a little bit, but...
No, I think it was clear and concise to the point, so that was great.
There you go. Yay!
So, all right.
I'll get better at these. As we now try to do the summations, I'll get a little bit better.
Everything's a little WIP, you know what I mean? So, if you can tell by another video that's coming out recently.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, No Way Home, this movie delivered on all fronts, I think. This was, I mean, damn near, I might have to say the best Marvel movie ever made. Honestly, to me, it's very, 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 very close to being that.
It's close to Endgame. It's definitely close to Infinity War.
It's just what's fantastic.
And there's gonna be a lot of people saying that. But that is a tough thing to really say.
I mean,
we're talking about the MCU here. I mean, it's been 20 years of just there's been some not so great films, but still ones that are really enjoyable. But then there's been fucking bangers, and this. I think there's going to be a lot coming forward in the next couple of weeks of just hype, the hype being paid off, and people be saying things like it's the best MCU film out of just sheer excitement. I'm going to temper my opinion of that only because that's hard to say. That's really hard to say.
See, for me, I think where this movie really hits is on the fact that it has so many different elements.
In this case, Josh's use of the word element is actually accurate.
That it touches on in the movie. I mean, it hits a lot of good points that movies, emotions that movies bring out. And this really nails all of those very well. Which the MCU has done with Spider-Man's movies, individual movies.
Well, in all of them.
Pretty well in general.
And that's not my point. All of them.
But this one in particular, there was some really, strong dialogue that really brought out some really heavy emotional
I cried twice.
Yes.
I cried 3 times.
I want to say probably up there too.
Cried.
I mean, I cry a little bit more in movies, so mine might have been upwards of 5, so... not ashamed though, not embarrassed. So if you didn't cry during this movie, you have no heart.
You have no soul,
or soul. One of the two.
And actually, I'm going to up that count at least 4 times now that I think about it. I cried at least 4 times, like full on, like one definite blubbering tears, and then the rest just like that. But definitely, I was crying.
It was fantastic. I mean, so I think you kind of had an idea that you wanted to get into about kind of how this movie started with Mysterio.
Yeah, correct? So let's go. I mean, we're going to try to do this a little bit chronologically because there is a lot that's going on in this movie. And we want to try as hard as we can to not backtrack. And I don't want to say it again a million times, as I want to do. So going into it with how the movie starts off, kicks off immediately from the ending of Far From Home, which is kind of interesting because it is the first MCU movie that's really done that, except barring Endgame.
Yeah.
Our Endgame, goes pretty much right into the ramifications, even though it's probably actually that's not even really entirely accurate because in Endgame it's a solid couple weeks after.
Yeah.
This is the next. This is the next scene from the end of from Far From Home, and it's kind of cool seeing that scene kind of again and play out the way it does play out. The one weird thing about it though is we introduced J. Jonah Jameson at the end. Kind of being an Alex Jones, like a straight up, and they make a joke about it in this one. He is an Alex Jones allegory because he sells Daily Bugle multivitamins. If you know anything about Alex Jones, that's his shtick.
Nice endorsement by himself selling his own product too. That's great, right?
Right. I'm just reminded of the John Mulaney's SNL skit who mixes lots of pills and calls them tiger sex pills. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So that was really cool because obviously, there's no one else who played J. Jonah Jameson other than J.K. Simmons.
Yes.
However, the one problem I have with J. Jonah Jameson is it's like, because Sony's involved and J. Jonah Jameson has always been an anti-Spider-Man guy in the comics, and he is more of an anti-Spider-Man guy in the comics, and he doesn't really give two craps about the rest of the heroes. Like for some odd reason, he's really mad about this one vigilante, but no one else.
Yeah.
But it was kind of weird that he keeps just harping on Spider-Man and being a menace when there's literally hundreds of not hundreds, but there's dozens of other heroes running around.
Why wouldn't
it does
be considered a menace?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It does make sense in a point that I'm gonna get to in a little bit, but probably I'll save it till either near the end or later. But it does make sense. But it's just kind of funny because it kept using that as a thing as why he was so villainized and why Peter Parker is getting sort of demonized in the court of public opinion.
So here's one thing to consider, though. Do you ever think that that's maybe how he gets his viewership? Maybe we're actually doing this wrong. Maybe we should just be hating on Spider-Man the entire time, just villainizing him, and then we can sell our own brand of Two Guys from Knowhere supplements.
Yeah.
not coming to stores near you anytime soon.
Because we mix a lot of pills and all the tiger sex pills.
So Mysterio, though, you did have something that you wanted to touch on in regards to his character.
And going into that, the one thing that was really weird was the fact that while there's protesters out protesting Spider-Man for some odd reason, even though literally he helped save the world, but then people using signs that Mysterio was right. That was really weird to me. What was Mysterio right about? And
he was right about Peter Parker being Spider-Man.
Okay. And what I'm saying, and it might have been in bad taste had they done this, but they could have easily, I'm going to agree, I'm going to say this, but I'm 100% saying that it also might have been in bad taste. I don't know. But they could have definitely gone down the route of a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement and people, having posters say his name or something like that. It might have been in bad taste. I'm going to keep prefacing that, but they could have done something like that. And I think that would have been, speaking to the times, they could have gone down that road. And it probably would have made a little bit more sense of a hero, people suspecting a hero of killing someone whom they thought was a hero.
Yeah. And I guess that makes sense.
It was just very weird that the slogan was Mysterio was right.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, with this movie, obviously they didn't discover too much into Mysterio. Yeah. Other than the fact that they considered him to be some interdimensional superhero that was, and as far as they knew him, was somebody that was actually helping protect her.
Yeah, exactly.
From these elemental forces.
And that's what makes sense.
So,
and that's what makes sense because he basically showed up on the scene, destroyed, in the public's view, destroyed a bunch of elemental monsters that were interdimensional elemental monsters. Wow, say that 9 times fast. Interdimensional elemental.
I'm not going to try it once.
Yeah, I know.
So.
And that's all they know. And then he gets killed. Presumably, I want to say, because it's actually kind of interesting thinking that if he was controlling the drones, but he was still able to record that video as Peter Parker saying execute all the drones, the shutdown functions.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of made me think, well, is he actually dead? Is he actually maybe still alive?
Good point.
Because how would he then be able to share that video, and in the suit, while like in real life he's actually not in the suit, he's in the green screen, the green screen suit, the mocap suit.
Yeah.
Just an interesting thought. It's not explored that he might be, but it's just an interesting thought.
It's something that we might explore later in our lives in the metaverse. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Zuckerberg. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and dive into the beginning of this movie a little bit.
I prefer to call him Data.
So with Peter Parker being like introduced as Spider-Man and being outed, it was very interesting to see, in the beginning of this movie, how his character reacted to that, how there was a split division about people liking him or not liking him, and then him being still a high school.
Yeah, still having to go about his day-to-day life.
He's a high school teenager having to go about his day-to-day life. Now everybody knowing that he is this masked vigilante and having to kind of really choose sides on how they feel about him, and him having to, live with that infamy. And I thought it was done really well, the way that they kind of portrayed his handling of it. And realistically, I mean, I think that when you think about being in high school and kind of the things that you deal with, a lot of the times you just want to get away. Yeah. And that was all he wanted to do.
Yeah, and even think about in high school, like, something embarrassing happens to you. I mean, we've all been pants in public.
Yeah.
It happens. But that next day when you have to walk through the halls and it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
We saw you chungies yesterday. Yeah. And also, and speaking of that too, it is interesting that when he comes in and sees the teachers that had been in the last 3 movies, but Hannibal Buress is the one who's like, he's on the stereo side, and he's just there slagging him while they're showing him this memorial or this memorial to Spider-Man. But he just under his breath keeps slagging him off. Which kind of plays from Homecoming when he keeps saying about Captain America. He's like, I don't know, this guy's apparently a war criminal now. Yeah. So this is required by the state.
Yeah. No, he's very like anti-superhero. I totally forgot about that.
And I think it is cool that the first half of this movie, the first act of this movie, is actually dealing with real life stuff, real life ramifications.
Yes, absolutely.
Of being accused of something like this, or even though it isn't mass hero being outed, his secret identity being outed, but then it goes that what they're worried about. They're not even worried about him going to jail. They're not worried about anything. It's other than their college applications.
Yeah. Realistically, the first act of this movie didn't really touch on Spider-Man a lot. Yeah. It was mainly a Peter Parker story.
Yeah, it was a Peter Parker story, and dealing with having to deal with the legal trouble of possibly having to go to jail for murder.
And so, talking about legal troubles, right?
I may have done it for a reason.
Charlie Cox reprising his role as Matthew Murdock,
which was amazing, and it was the best part about that was that
the theater was nuts when he was on screen, and it was awesome. It was so good.
The real cool thing about it was there was no pageantry to it. There was no. He just sits down on a table.
Yep, just there.
Literally, they're just talking to someone. You don't even know that you don't even realize that they're talking to someone off screen, and he just sits down in a chair.
Yeah,
just casual as hell.
and lo and behold, Matthew Murdock, and I love that they did that. I'm really curious to see what Marvel decides to do with the remainder of the Netflix series heroes that they created, because I do feel that Luke Cage was a good one. Jessica Jones was good.
The first season was really good.
Yeah,
that's my fault. I never actually watched the second season.
I like John Bernthal as the Punisher, so I would love to see. I would love to see them come into these movies in some capacity.
Yeah, or even just giving us another round of shows.
But you know what? Like,
I'm okay with that. Like I'm down with the street level heroes having just shows.
In the interim, just seeing Charlie Cox be back as Matthew Murdock was great, and his scene
catches that brick
was just Fantastic. Loved it.
When he catches that brick,
it's so like good.
The best because it's Peter reaches out, of course, because he's got the Peter deal. He reaches out to get it, but Charlie Cox has already caught it, And he looks at him, and they have this moment where, like, how in the... And his response,
I'm a very good lawyer. It's great. It's so...
Which is kind of plays, too, because he's not saying he has superpowers. He's just like, I've been here before. People
yeah, and it's great. So that was a really... one of those things that was kind of put out there, kind of spoiled a little bit, that Charlie Cox might be in the movie as Matthew Murdock.
Yeah.
And it was great to actually see it, though, come to fruition. And that was a very welcoming surprise for this movie.
Because that Daredevil series was amazing.
It was fantastic. And, obviously, Kingpin and whatever, we'll save that for another one. But yeah, so, going into the second act of this movie, which I thought, obviously, you're going through this concept of Peter Parker wanting to erase everything that he's done.
Well, yeah, he thinks he has an easy answer.
Yeah, he thinks he has an easy answer because, of course, he can go to Stephen or Sir, whichever one, depending on his mood. That he will be the solution in not allowing his life decisions affect his friends and family.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. He's not even going to him for him. He's fixing it. He's trying to fix his friends' lives.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've always really enjoyed about Spider-Man as a character is the fact that he is not self-serving.
Yeah.
His character's always been very, and I think it's primarily because of the fact that he is a teenager, that he hasn't gone through those things yet to like understand what it is to be self-serving, and he's very loyal to like his family and his friends, and I love to see his character arc go through that in this movie.
Well, and especially
still stick to that.
Especially this iteration of Spider-Man, who has already shown like he's always just trying to do the right thing.
Exactly.
He's even being introduced in Civil War. He talks about like how he could go out for sports, but he couldn't then. So why should he now? And then his arc in Homecoming of actually trying to save the Vulture because he cares about first realizing that he can't, in good conscience, just enjoy his night with his date.
Yeah.
Because he knows what her dad is and is going to do, even without his special suit.
Yeah.
He's like, I have to do something. And the thing is what he says is it's not that he has to do something to stop him. He says, you don't deserve this.
Yeah.
And then goes off to get him. And then throughout the battle, tries to save his life, even though he's still trying to kill him.
I mean, he's really the truest form of a hero.
Yeah.
He's always trying to do the right thing. Yeah, exactly. And that's just, and Tom Holland just nails it as that character.
Super likable. And again, he's actually a kid. Well, now he's a little bit older, but
the duality that he plays of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, I just think is so spot on. So yeah, then obviously we get to see Doctor Strange in this, which is great. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch, always a pleasure to see him playing that role. I thought that their
Bingle Snatch Humblebond.
Yeah, I thought that their was great. Yeah. It was great, and so then that leads into the movie where
and cool seeing that like Wong is actually now
the Sorcerer Supreme, yeah,
on a technicality.
On a technicality, yes.
Can you actually explain why he's training with Abomination in Shang-Chi? Might be trying to rehabilitate him, which I know I said that before, but him being the Sorcerer Supreme might actually make a little more sense.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Not just as a
good callback, yeah. But so then he gets into the spell, and obviously Peter Parker again, still being a teenager, kind of starts to think maybe I don't want everybody to completely forget who I am.
So, and that's an interesting thing too. So that kind of bothered me is that Stephen Strange is going to cast a spell, but doesn't bother trying to explain it to him first. Like, doesn't explain how it's supposed to work. Like, hey, like, if you want me to do this, everyone's going to forget who you are.
Well, but the thing is that he also prefaces is that he does still forget that he's a kid.
Yeah.
And he tells him that. So I think that's kind of...
He's maybe just trying to give him what he wants or something like that.
And his understanding is that, hey, everybody is going to forget who you are. And then not understanding that Peter Parker is still a kid, so he might not want completely everybody to forget.
But that's what I'm saying is that he's casting this spell that's literally going to make everybody forget that he's Spider-Man, but he because his friendships and his family and that the way that they've not really, even though he has a secret identity, everybody in his immediate circle knows that he's Spider-Man, and that's actually kind of created part of their bond.
Yeah, exactly.
With Ned being the guy in the chair,
yeah,
MJ and him not really getting together until she found out he was Spider-Man,
mm-hmm.
and then Aunt May being him not wanting her to know because he was so worried about whatever happened before, which is we still don't know what that was.
Yeah, it has not been explained.
It had been on the bend, but
not explained still.
Or it could have been her parents, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or his parents, and it could have been one of those. Maybe she's just single.
Definitely playing the more
maybe
protective mother figure once she found out that he was Spider-Man, and so I agree with that.
So, but I just thought it was interesting that he doesn't explain the spell to him first. He just starts it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like that's very up his alley, though.
Yeah, true.
He is he kind of goes rogue.
Yeah, and especially right now because he's not the Sorcerer Supreme, and he is kind of just okay.
Yeah,
I don't have responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Problem.
And that leads into, once the spell kind of goes awry, they kind of figure it out. They fix it.
And the funniest part too about that is literally after the spell goes awry, he goes. There's another one where he forgets he's a kid. He goes, "Didn't you plead your case?"
Oh yeah.
And he's like, so wait, you came to a wizard to have a spell cast across the entire world before you pled your case?
Yeah.
It's like,
not knowing that he could do that. Yeah. And so
he's like, you could do that.
So that leads to again, which was, I think.
And this is what the movie just goes balls to the wall from here on out.
100%. And obviously in the trailers, and even prior to the trailers, there was people knew that Willem Dafoe was going to be returning as the Green Goblin. People knew that Alfred Molina was going to be returning as Dr. Octopus.
Well, so here's the weird thing about this, and I'm going to kind of touch on this a couple times, only because we're going to save certain characters for later. But especially with the villains, it was weird. This is one of the weirdest rollouts of leaks / actual information of any movie I've ever experienced. Because there were so many fan theories, it was really hard to wade through the fan theories, so that when something real was announced, it was hard to. Was that real? Was that a fan theory?
But
because Alfred Molina, literally, I only remember Alfred Molina being cast as Dr. Octopus.
See, I remember
that's the
Willem
only one.
Dafoe.
That's the only one I actually remembered. And later, I remember Willem Dafoe, but for a long time, it was talked about that Willem Dafoe was going to be in it. Jamie Foxx was going to be in it. No one ever really said anything about Rhys Davies being in it, or John Hayden Church.
Yes.
I didn't remember anybody until more recently.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just was that real? Was that news? Was that actually announced? It was so weird, the rollout of information, because there were so many fan theories.
But you also got to consider that I think with movies nowadays, it's really hard.
With great movie comes great responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to keep things under wraps. So maybe just a leak of misinformation and information keeps people on their toes.
This movie is the worst, best kept secret in Hollywood. Of any movie ever made.
100%. I'll agree with you there. 100%.
100%. The worst, best kept secret but then that's kind of what I'm saying. I remember Alfred Molina and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because he was a great Dr. Octopus. Is this going to be the Randy Dr. Octopus, or is he just doing a new version in our universe?
And so, we talked about this idea of having these characters introduced into the movie, and how we kind of thought it would have been better had they only been in it briefly. And turns out that's not how it was.
They're the main
focus of the movie. And it honestly played out a lot better than I thought it was going
100%.
To the story, and to, again, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, trying to be the hero. I'm much more satisfied with the outcome than I thought I initially was going to be.
Everyone got their time. It never felt overstuffed.
No, not at all.
I do have some editing issues that I'll talk about later, but they're minor. It's some editing issues, but pacing was like everybody got their well deserved time.
Yeah, absolutely, and
they made really good reasons for like things like Dr. Octopus being basically neutered by the nanotech.
Yeah,
you know, everyone was theorizing, "Ooh, if he got the nanotech, like what does that mean?" All it meant was that basically now Peter can control.
Yeah, which was a great scene there too. You know, I mean the fight on the bridge was a fantastic scene. Obviously, we'll not try to touch onto it too much, but the
because it's also very short, and basically
nanotech,
the whole fight scene you see in the trailer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's not really much to talk about.
But so they do introduce all these characters, and I think it was a great thing to see all these actors that have played these roles in all these different iterations of Spider-Man on screen together, sharing this time. And Loki was the first show, I think, to really explore the multiverse, like really, really explore it. Like I think that it's been touched on in the MCU, but Loki was the real exploration of it, and this just amplified that. This movie, the multiverse, and in bringing all these villains together, and you have villains that know each other from another multiverse.
And that was the really cool thing that was because
the interactions were fantastic,
right. And especially because the way the rules of the multiverse were working here, it didn't have to be one specific time in that multiverse.
Because in this case, Doc
refers to the fact that Norman is
dead. Yeah.
And same thing with Max Dillon, knowing that Dr. Connors was dead.
Yes.
Also, same thing with Sandman. When Sandman first shows up, he's trying to protect Peter. So that means, and he didn't die at the end of part 3. So that means and Sandman in the comics does waffle back and forth between him and Dillon.
He does.
So that means that he's definitely a future version of Sandman that has become more of a heroic guy and actually friends with Spider-Man, because that's literally his introduction is him going, Spider-Man, what's going on? And
protecting him from Max Dillon when he's introduced.
I thought it was interesting though that Thomas Hayden Church was CGI Sam the entire movie, and I noticed something at the end that I think it's because they didn't want to de-age him, because all the shots of him.
Oh yeah.
All the shots of him once he gets back.
Yeah.
It was stock footage.
Yeah.
It was straight stock footage.
Yeah.
Him becoming human was literally it was literally a reverse shot of when he turns to sand. And I noticed it. Actually, when I really noticed it is when he looks up at the end when he's looking at the fight or something. And I was like, that's straight up a shot.
For real.
Also, probably Thomas Hayden Church was like, I ain't getting in shape.
Yeah, exactly. Going about this movie and again how it progresses.
Let's go through the villains real quick.
You want to hit the villains real quick?
Let's hit the villains real quick.
All right.
Dr. Octopus. I mean, Alfred Molina just nails that role.
Just fantastic. I mean, and realistically, there's not a better actor I think that could play that role.
Even the first time
he was the best.
He looks exactly like I would want. I mean, the more cooler looking version of Dr. Octopus, not like the really cheesy ones from early years, but he just looks like him. You don't need the bowl cut. It's fine.
Fantastic.
And the way he played, clearly kind of where he got pulled from the time that when he's battling Spider-Man, it's literally right before he's probably about to turn on that machine.
Yeah.
And playing on the fact that they're now in a universe that kind of has a lot more advanced tech because it was made in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Late 90s, I want to say maybe. So. Was that 2001? 2001.
2001, yeah, 2001.
No.
We'll put our little fact check up on it.
2002 or 2001. But he's just amazed by all the cool technology they have there. Same with Max Dillon he's
the amount of power that they have, he can definitely
and the arc reactor, his whole thing.
Yeah.
The sun, palm of your hands.
Yeah.
His whole arc reactor.
Yeah.
So and the fact that he. Even from kind of taking the same characterization from Spider-Man 2, is he's still sort of struggling with the control of the tentacles.
Yes.
Like he's not so villainous. Like he's angry and yes, he's a little manic.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not so straight up villainous. He's literally coming into this universe like damn near probably in the middle of their fight or one of their fights.
Yeah.
And that's why he's pissed off. But then as the movie progresses, he's actually just more confused.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and actually, you know, then again, his character takes a turn to where he wants to be helpful. He kind of realizes.
We'll get into why that is, but next one.
Let's talk about people who are not completely in control. I mean, I did want to save this one for the last villain that we would touch on,
I kind of do.
But
yeah, may as well.
You said not in control. We have to say Norman Osborn.
I mean,
you know, and Willem Dafoe, I think, you know, that was his whole character arc, was his internal battle with himself and this concept of mania. Yeah, his own mania. And you know, you get the sense that throughout this movie that that's not the character that he is.
Which they did that in the first day. The thing is,
they did.
They really did the same thing. That was the thing. Like they didn't change any of that. Like,
but it still plays so well.
Oh,
it still plays so
exactly
fresh, and that's what's so good about it.
Like he gets there and he's still in control. The goblin persona is still in control. So he's just whipping fucking pumpkin bombs. And then once he kind of snaps out of it, he's just like he's scared. He's confused. Mm-hmm. He realizes that. He doesn't exist in this universe. Oscorp doesn't exist in this universe.
Yes.
And he's just lost, and he does what anyone would do: goes to a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
And I love the way they played that to give him the more comic book accurate costume.
Yes.
It's literally just May gives him some fucking purple sweats.
Yeah.
Like that was just incredibly like. I'm forgetting words because that's how like incredibly creative that was.
Yeah.
And that was the word I was looking for. It was just incredibly creative to go, yeah, he's not fabricating some new suit while he's here. He's just wearing purple sweats that get torn up and thus make it look like the Goblin outfit a little bit.
Yes. And it was refreshing to see that they didn't want to just stick to the Sam Raimi, costume design throughout the entire movie. It was nice to see him in a different capacity.
I hate that design.
It's not my favorite
always
either.
Hated that
You know, I think it was unique to the times we talked about this. But
the Sam Raimi movies, while I still love them, there's a campiness to them that is because when you have a sort of horror comedy director direct a superhero movie, and especially one of the first superhero movies, like first good ones at least.
Yeah.
That wasn't like Blade or like. The early Captain Americas, or like from like the 90s and a couple from the 80s, or like that earlier stuff that was not so good. Yeah, the color palette was so poppy and comic booky, which is cool, but that costume though, I've always hated it.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
Why do you have some? I don't know. Because it was supposed to be some military tech thing, like armored suit, and then glider. Got it. but then the mask is shaped like a goblin for some weird reason.
So that moving on, obviously we should touch on Jamie Foxx. Mm-hmm. It was good to see him reprise the role. It was also good to see that they changed the way his character looked. It was not my favorite character design in The Amazing Spider-Man.
I got what they were going with, but like they made him a Norman Bates.
Yeah.
But granted, I like that they sort of explained it away. They're just like, so you got some new powers, so you got a makeover. Like, that was pretty funny, but he does comment on the fact that the power here is different, and thus getting away from the blue, the blue look, the ultimate.
The ultimate. Look. Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously Lizard. I mean. Really, I think he had the most limited role.
Yeah, he had the short end.
Sandman as well. It was good.
Sandman actually had a pretty good role. I wish it had shown Strange's fight with him, with the lizard.
Okay.
Yeah, because when they get back to the what they call it, I can't remember. They had a name for the basement, but it ended up just being a basement.
The Undercroft?
Yeah, the Undercroft.
Yeah.
Oh, the Undercroft. I mean,
yeah.
There's a washer and dryer.
It's literally just a basement with a torture device, maybe in there. We don't know. We're not really sure what that was.
That's a Pilates.
Yeah, that's a Pilates machine. Yeah, exactly. It could be one of the two.
But yeah, he's like, clearly been beaten up a little bit. He's got blood.
Yes, because he's one of the first ones that he captured.
Yeah, he tells him he's like he chased him down to the sewer and then but yeah, it would have been cool to see his fight. But then it was Lizard's just sort of in his cell the whole time.
And I mean, it would have been cool, but let's also consider the fact that this was a 2.5 hour long movie.
Yeah.
So
could have been a good 20 minutes longer.
But to be honest, it really didn't feel that way to me.
No, it didn't at all.
It was so enjoyable that I time was not relevant.
It definitely could have been about 20 minutes longer, and I'll get into that later. And again, it's about editing. But and that was cool because it led into really what the ultimate plot of the film was that it was about Peter Parker trying to save them, not them being villainous. All their villainous activity through and him having to try to deal with that or go out and battle them throughout the whole movie. It's actually him just trying to save them the whole movie.
Yeah.
And him and Doctor Strange getting a little bit of an argument about that.
Yes. How they have to die, basically.
Yeah,
their fate is determined.
Well, but yeah, because that's Doctor Strange. That's Doctor Strange's point of view. Like he says he's basically saying that like their fate is to die at the hands of Spider-Man. If it happens here, whether it happens here or if they be sent home, because them being here is messing with the structure of reality as it is.
Yes.
And Peter, again, just this version of Peter just always wanting to do the right thing. Not that the other versions didn't either, but I think this one's always been a little bit more earnest about that and a little bit more. That's been his vibe and his character. Like he just always trying to do the right thing, even if it's to someone that he shouldn't. And so his little battle with Doctor Strange was really cool, and especially cool when he figures out how the mirror dimension works. I just want to win. Just like
geometry. I'm good at this.
And it was kind of a weird callback to him fighting Thanos when he says magical kick. So him just like swinging around and webbing up everything to ultimately trap Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension.
Hanging over the Grand Canyon, I guess, for extended period of time.
He said like 12 hours. Days. But so him trying to save. So then, that becomes the big arc of the movie is him actually just trying to save these people and actually earning their trust.
And done so well. I mean, through that, you really feel in this movie that it's going to work. It works with Doc Ock, and then when it gets to Max Dillon, he starts to kind of feel that trust too, and they're all getting down to this point of, maybe we can be different and go back into our own universes, and we don't have to suffer this fate.
Yeah. And it feels like him and Norman start to really bond in the same way that he and Norman and his Peter Parker
bonded.
Because even in the first Raimi movie, he was like he was a son to him.
Yes, exactly.
And then that goes awry.
And it does. And I mean, kind of what we were talking about earlier. It goes awry primarily because Norman being the Green Goblin, and that persona is in more control than
he likes to think.
Yes, and basically has this idea that they're gods, and why
he damn near repeats his speech from Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, exactly, and basically telling them that like, hey, this is like, we don't need to curb ourselves. Like, we're the ones that take. We're the ones that with the power. Like, we shouldn't have to answer to anybody.
And then it's kind of interesting that then that immediately turns Max Dillon. Sandman. I don't feel like Sandman. Again, like I said, I think this is a future version of Sandman that is a little bit more of a misguided hero.
Yes.
So it's not that. He's more not trusting of this Spider-Man because he knows it's not his Spider-Man. It's not the Spider-Man he knows. So he just leaves, and probably not just to join them, I think he
just kind of tries to get out of the picture.
I think he's having a little bit of doubts that like maybe he's really not trying to save him. He is trying to kill them.
Yes.
And then
gets caught in the web.
Caught in the web. Like he's in a web of lies.
Yes, exactly.
And that led to like one of the most visceral, brutal freaking fights that like I've seen in a while.
Oh,
between
with
Spider-Man
and Goblin was insane. I mean,
like,
that was.
Okay, I have to say this. We weren't sitting next to each other.
We were not. It was too packed.
Yeah, the
everybody that we went to go see it with was pretty much sitting separately. Minus me and Assault.
The tickets are just here sitting on my phone, 'cause I'm too afraid to stop the recording. So yeah, so Spider Monday or Spider Tuesday, when all the tickets went on sale, like they sold out so fast, and I kind of forgot. Like I didn't kind of really think about it. I didn't think they saw it that fast. Should have known better. But so we did not get to sit together. Even Andy, little Andy, was had to sit in the seat in front of me. So I'm sitting next to some guy, and there's this part in the fight where Norman literally power bombs him through like 2 floors in this building, and both him this random dude, and I go whoa, and then immediately try each other look like.
Yeah, no, I mean that was
it was visceral.
It was fantastic. I mean it was
and that's
great.
Cool, and that's cool being like, the Green Goblin being the Spider-Man's pretty much arch nemesis.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
and letting them like go at it and just ham it out.
I mean, if you think about it, in the Ultimate Universe, he's the one that kills Spider-Man. Spider-Man is from the Green Goblin. So I mean, it's great to see his character still be that like.
Technically, the Punisher also killed him because the Punisher shot him first. But what?
Okay, well, whatever. But yeah, I mean,
actually, that's like true because he died from exhaustion.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, but. Great scene. I mean, the fight scene was great. It was fantastic. Choreography was awesome. I mean,
it was just straight wrestling moves.
Yes, it was. It was like rock bottom, stone cold stunners.
It was.
Maybe a little Diamond Dallas Page action.
It was like old school. It was like watching old school ECW, like when they go out of the crowd.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that kind of goes into what I was saying earlier about like that's how his sort of more akin to his classic costume becomes his classic costume. It just gets mangled.
Yeah.
And that sweater
can only go through so many floors, right?
Can only go through so many walls and floors and just ripping them apart. And then that fight scene ends in a very unexpected way.
Yeah, and I'd heard earlier that this scene, the line in the scene was going to happen in this movie.
Yeah.
I did not expect it to happen that way.
Yeah.
And it what a unique twist on this. I really like the way that it was done. I mean, on
tears number one.
Yes, tears number one for sure.
This
one was really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the chemistry between Tom Holland and Marissa Tomei has been fantastic throughout their entire screen time together. And so I think that when it came down to this scene playing out this way, it was very emotional.
Yeah.
And it really like struck a chord with me. And I as we were watching this movie, I just I couldn't hold back the tears. It was
it was such a bait and switch because you thought she was fine.
Yes,
you thought she was totally fine, and then just couldn't go on anymore and just laid down and died. And then what made it even harder is that, so a little thing that happened at the beginning of the movie, it's not really important, but obviously from the last film, and him had Happy had a little fling, and Happy was heartbroken about it because he was dating fucking Marissa Tomei.
Yes,
and he got broken up by Marissa Tomei. It's fucking heartbreaking. But when he pulls up and he sees that she's
passed,
and he's just screaming, "Peter, run!" Like because the cops are coming.
Yeah,
because they just tore down a building. And the Green Goblin threw a pumpkin bomb and damaged, did more destruction. Him just screaming, "Peter, run!"
Yeah,
and Peter getting shot.
Yeah,
like, yeah, it was just heart-wrenching. It added so much more than just, and even again, this goes into, dude, fuck, I'm gonna get weepy just
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Because even again, the thing with May's death, they did a thing that I loved from the first one. We discussed it many times, where when Vulture drops the building on Peter,
yeah,
and he's screaming for help, because at that moment he's not a superhero.
Yeah,
with powers. He's a kid. He's a 16-year-old kid buried under rubble, and he doesn't know what to do. Skin jitters right now, like just goosies everywhere. And that moment was one of my favorite moments in the first one, and it's obviously one of the things that cemented Tom Holland as my favorite Spider-Man. Just from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
But then this scene when he's saying to May, "Get up, just talk to me, say something to me," and like begging her, like, fuck.
It was very
Niagara Falls, Strength Angel.
It was very emotional, and another thing with this,
like it was the realization of the kid, like, not like just watching someone die, like watching their like main loved one, their main caregiver, and dying, and still not understanding because he's still.
I think why this has more gravity too. Obviously, they use the line "with great power comes great responsibility," which was great to see that in coming from somebody different.
Yeah.
But the reason why this also had more gravity is that with the other iterations of Spider-Man, you get that from Uncle Ben out the gate, but you don't really see their characters develop.
Yeah.
Where this one, there's so much character development between them there that the gravity of this scenario was so much heavier because you really got to see their characters interact and develop an on-screen relationship, and so when this moment happened, it was very impactful.
It wasn't the first 15 minutes of the first movie.
Exactly, and then being like, oh well, going through like almost a Thomas Martha Wayne kind of scenario where you're like, I don't understand why this fucked him up so bad. I only saw these characters on screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You understand?
Yeah. Well, no, obviously, but I mean, like to the severity of this one,
it's not.
The relationships played out enough to where you can understand why.
For sure. From an audience perspective, it's not the origin story that you need to know that this person.
Yes,
this person,
exactly.
Like an important person.
Exactly.
An important person died, which shaped this person's character.
Mm.
This is an important person that shaped this guy's character, and to hit the point that like Norman's saying, it's her ideals that make you weak. It's her, like, she's the one bringing you down because it's her mission to save the world because working at Feast and which was introduced in the last film, and her humanitarian work is bringing him down because he's more powerful than that.
Yeah.
And then to have her die in his arms and have Norman kill her. And again, because you've had 3 movies now of their character growth and their relationship and seeing that relationship. Technically 4 movies because she was in Civil War too.
Yeah, exactly.
Way more impactful, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I a great part of this was the fact that even though she probably technically knew that she was going to be dying, she's still telling him, like, do the right thing, do the right thing.
And she's not even saying that. She's saying you did the right thing.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
You did the right thing by bringing them here and trying to help them.
Yeah, and it's that just leads to how good this iteration of Spider-Man is. It's just fantastic. So then that leads us into what we did not think was. Well, I kind of speculated.
We disagree.
We disagreed whether it was going to happen or not. And then we also disagreed on how we wanted it to happen.
I know.
And that is the introduction of the Spider-Men. And that was Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back on screen as Peter Parker and Peter Parker. And honestly, fantastic moment. I just enjoyed it.
I know. I have to say, I've been banging on for 2 years that I don't want it. Don't give it to me. I don't want it.
He was.
Banging on.
Literally, we've been talking about this. And he was saying,
like, I do not.
I can't think about how many countless times you said, I hope they're only in the movie for 5 minutes.
I've said countless times, I don't want them in this
the movie, and then if they are going to be in the movie, 5 minutes. Screen time, please.
Then as the rumor mill kept spinning, I was like, fine, they're in the movie for like 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Don't overstuff it. And part of my reasoning was just like, don't steal my Tom Holland's thunder. Don't do it. He's my Tom Holland.
And you know what? The way that they were introduced was incredible. And, Tobey Maguire comes on screen, says he needs to find Peter Parker.
Because he wants to help him.
And wants to help him. And, they eventually go to, every Spider-Man has a place where he wants to be alone, which I
thought was kind of a weird choice, because it's like that.
But again, you're a teenage kid. Everybody has a place where they go.
Yeah.
And so they go onto the top of the school, and they have this really great scene.
Yeah.
Where
crying moment number 2.
Crying moment number 2, correct. Where they're all talking about their own losses and the things that they've dealt with, and just trying to help this version of Spider-Man be better.
Yeah,
and
not even be better.
Not be better, but like
remind him of who he is.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
The thing that I thought was really, really cool about that moment was they didn't de-age Tobey Maguire. This is clearly an older Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
This is clearly like more like, I mean, he's not that old, but like Spider-Man the End.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man Reign.
Yeah.
He's definitely older. He's probably, because he shows up not even in a suit, he's probably not even really actively as Spider-Man as much.
Which I think they alluded to later when he was cracking his back and a
little
out of shape.
The other thing too is Andrew Garfield. This is clearly a more future version of Andrew Garfield, which means that universe went on after Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
And that was a moment that like damn near broke my heart because it's just really because of Andrew Garfield's delivery of his little soliloquy that he tells him.
Which was, to be honest, I'm gonna say was more of, I think, it was a self-reflective moment on what he did to damage his ability to reprise that role and continue that universe on.
Maybe
it was more of, I think it was more of an internal thing, allowing him to express kind of his faults and what he did that didn't allow him to continue.
But it was cool that when him talking about in-universe stuff about how he got reckless and he got rageful and he stopped throwing his punches.
Exactly.
Like this is like he became a much darker Spider-Man. Even though he's still quippy, he's still funny, he's still a bit jokey. Funny and jokey. He's definitely still Spider-Man. He's still the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But he talks about losing Gwen. And when he says he's like I got angry and I stopped pulling my punches. And then but at this point, like our Spider-Man is just so like hurt and so he's at this point he thinks he did the wrong thing. And he's like, I need to send you don't belong here. I'm sending you all back. You deal with this. Yeah. This is your problem. It's not my problem. Which is literally the antithesis of what Aunt May just told him.
Yeah, exactly.
And that gives Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man who had the much better growth and connection with his Uncle Ben. Like I never really liked the way Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, that way that Uncle Ben death played out was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And kind of stupid. Whereas with Tobey Maguire's Uncle Ben, it was Uncle Ben trying to do the right thing for someone and it going wrong.
Yes.
And his immediate, because in Amazing Spider-Man, he sort of just goes on a hunt for someone he thinks who killed him. That's when he makes his suit and he goes on a hunt.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man goes straight after him.
Yeah.
He that's his mission right away. And he even says, he's like, I wanted him dead. And I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think he says something along the lines where I didn't kill him, but I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
And he's like, it
didn't make him
sorry, I'm almost crying, but sorry, it's fucking hurt. This hits. It hits right in the heart.
It is deep. And
but him saying and it didn't make me feel any better. And then he said, and my Uncle Ben said, with great power and that was, I think Tom Holland finished the line. And
yeah, comes great responsibility,
he
and they're
smirks and he's like,
yeah, they're
who said that to you?
yeah, and they're all kind of having that coming together moment of of really self-realization of who they are and what their mission is to be. You know?
And then again, the cool thing too is kind of again with this plot, and what I was so worried about was that it was just going to be just too much going on and just too much going on. But no, then we just get science bros for a little while.
Yeah.
You know, we get,
right, we
just get fun little science
little
bros.
80s montage of them just kind of trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure out the cure, like really, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll help you cure them. I think you're right. You know, we don't need to fight them. We can just cure them, and we may have to fight them a little bit, but you're right. Like let's help them.
Let's help them, and
let's not try to stop them. Let's just help them.
So that leads into the final battle, which takes place in the Statue of Liberty, where for some reason they're putting Captain America's shield. I don't know where the fuck I missed that being a thing.
That's cool.
They alluded to it in the movie earlier about there was something. I don't think they should. Whatever kind of thing was going on, like radio show thing, whatever.
I think that was another thing that J. Jonah Jameson was saying.
Okay.
It just was like maybe the one other thing where he was like, "I'm gonna give shit to other heroes."
Yeah, and so don't know why it was happening. Didn't really care. I mean, granted, it was given to us by the French, but whatever.
But hey, let's Americanizing.
So yeah, really, like we do everything. Let's move off the metric system. Before
we get into the final fight, just kind of again, science bros. I love their broing out moment, like their just bonding moment of like talking about how the difference, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man could shoot webs, could make webs.
Oh yeah,
and the cracking the back.
Yeah.
The cracking his back, and the very clever, but very clever. You're amazing. I need you to know that you're amazing. Tobey Maguire saying the amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Kind of
no, clever for sure. But so then we get this end fight scene, and crazy to just see all these actors and all these characters on screen at the same time, and I mean, couldn't have been handled better.
And it was cool that it showed that they're not. At least the other two aren't used to working with someone else.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
So they fuck up a lot first. They're crashing with it, like they're shooting each other in the face with web.
Like clotheslining each other with web and stuff like that. And then we also get to find out that I guess Ned has some, he does have
some latent wizardry.
Yeah.
You're a wizard.
Which is a cool thing to see. It'll be interesting to see how they play that out.
I wonder if they will go down the route of the joke they say during the Science Bro scene about I promise I won't become a super villain.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, because
did you have a best friend?
Yeah.
But he went crazy and tried to kill me.
Yeah. But so we have this great fight scene, and one thing that was, as you noted, was Tom Holland bringing them back together and being like, hey, like I've worked in teams, and like this is how we're gonna do it. And I like how they have like Spider-Man code names 1, 2, 3.
It was interesting that they chose Tom Holland as one.
It was, because it should have been Tobey Maguire.
I know, that would why did you not do that?
Yeah. I mean, because let's be honest.
I know.
Who's the number one Spider-Man?
I know, but they still should have. Because it's just a cute little nod.
No, right? Yeah. And in this, we get this fantastic redemption scene with Andrew Garfield being able to save MJ.
Yeah.
And tier number 3 because when he saves her and he has that moment and he starts tearing up knowing that like maybe he didn't save Gwen, but he saved
it's a redemption moment.
He saved this Peter Parker's Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
And that was just incredible. And again, just how good this movie was written. Just these little snippets, little subtle scenes that just can really bring it out in you, and definitely teared up during that. And it was again just a great scene, fantastic scene.
And the interactions they had with the villains as they were curing them.
Yeah.
When Andrew Garfield cures Max, he stops and which had another really cool moment and cool line, but I'm going to focus on this one for now. When he's saying, when I met you, you were like the nicest guy I've ever met.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You didn't need power. You were a great person. Like, you didn't need power. You didn't need like to be a bad guy. And again, because these guys are pulled from different, not only different multiverses or different universes, but different times in that universe. So like clearly, this is an Andrew Garfield that's later on down the line.
Yes, they can have
he
reflective.
remembers killing him.
Yeah.
And he can have a reflective moment and say like, yo, like I didn't want to hurt you, and you were a good person. Same thing with Toby and Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
Lizard sort of gets a little bit of kind of just he gets turned and
you're just there.
You're just there.
Yeah.
Hi, Reese Davies.
Yeah. And then that leads us to
the same thing with Sandman. Like he's saying, Flint, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm pretty positive this is a future version of Flint, of Flint Marko. And then straight up stock footage from Spider-Man 3. And
then that leads into obviously the
big final
battle between Peter Parker and Norman Osborn.
Again, just another
visceral, and I mean, and he's just
beating the shit out of him,
and eventually tries to take up his glider. And go to impale him.
Tears number 4,
which leads to Tobey Maguire stopping him,
and
then getting stabbed.
But it was a great choice to linger on that stare between Tobey staring at him.
Yes, 100%.
He's holding that glider. He's saving Norman Osborn, who, tried to kill him. Tried to kill MJ, tried to kill freaking Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
And he's saving him, and he's giving, I don't know. It was, again, that's why that's tears number 4, because that look on his face when he's staring down Tom Holland, because it's a very much, please don't make me hurt you.
Yeah.
I'm stopping you. Please don't make me hurt you.
Yeah. And so at that point, what we get after all this fantastic end scene is eventually Peter Parker has to make the decision.
Well, because the
fabric of reality is
literally breaking around.
And I'm sure there was some Easter eggs coming out there that I didn't catch.
You didn't see Kraven. You didn't see the Rhino. Like I saw Kraven, the Rhino, Scorpion. It's sort of in light, like it's sort of in,
I think it was like moving too fast.
It was. My eyes were like, when he says they're all coming through, and it talks about like he says earlier in the movie, if this spell doesn't work or the spell gets out, they're all coming here.
Okay.
And so that in the line in the trailer, they're all breaking through. I can't stop them. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about literally every Spider-Man villain, and so I was like, immediately my eyes went ping. Like I'm like looking at every little shot of light, like to see if I can point him out. And you can see Kraven, Kraven, Scorpion, Rhino. I think I saw someone else.
Okay, that's
sorry.
Someone else,
again,
right there, whichever villain that is.
Dude, this movie was so mind-boggling.
Well, it was, and I think that's why in those little intricacies, I got lost because I was so focused on like what I just saw, and I mean, I probably was also trying to clear the tears from my eyes. But so then we get to the point where Spider-Man has to make this decision, and he does decide to just forget it all. Which is
he makes Steven make everybody
forget about him,
and not even forget that he's Spider-Man. Forget about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
comes
led
to
like tears number fucking 5.
No, that's what I was going to say. Tears number 5. I said at least 5 times because then you get to this point at the end of the movie, which is, I think, unique for a Marvel movie. Marvel movies don't usually end on a bad note.
Yeah, they never really end on a down note. I mean, Endgame.
But Endgame is an exception to the rule because they were setting up.
True. Well,
Infinity War Endgame.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Captain America. Well, no, actually, Captain America does end actually on a good note.
mostly they always end on a good note.
This one actually just
ended on a complete down note, where Peter Parker is telling MJ, telling Ned, like, I'm going to do whatever. Tier number.
Yeah.
That's
this was kind of
right
all
there.
part of it. Like,
yes, this and to the end.
Yeah.
You know, them having this conversation about
the whole end of the movie.
Yes, exactly. About how he's gonna rectify it, how he's gonna make it right,
he's gonna find them again. And MJ telling him I love you, and he goes say it and says, Don't say it till you find me again.
Yeah, and they have this great on-screen kiss, and then we fast forward to Peter Parker basically being non-existent as a human being, and nobody even knowing who he is, and he goes to try to find MJ at the end, and then
he's practically trying to tell her.
Tell and kind of like a 51st dates almost moment, you know, and only just realizing that, hey, you know what, they're better off without me. They got into MIT. They're going to do the things that they wanted to do, that I was trying to, you know, I created this whole scenario to get them to this area, to get them to this point in their life, and realizing that they're there.
He succeeded in his goal.
Why mess it up? Yeah. And he just goes on and scene.
Yeah.
And that was just fantastic. I mean, this movie was fantastic. So before we get into our monkeys, we're going to have to touch on the end credits scene.
The kind of pointless end credits scene, but I love it.
Pointless but great. So we get Tom Hardy, obviously, as Eddie Brock.
Shut up. What are you talking about?
So,
you're drunk.
yes. So we get Eddie Brock, you know, in Mexico still from the end of Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and or Venom Let There Be Carnage. I don't think there was a 2 in there. But basically finding out that there's all these other individuals in this universe.
I love that. Like, so it was such a mind-blowing thing at the end of Let There Be Carnage that he's now in the MCU. Awesome. How's he going to fit in this fucking movie? Because there's so much going on. But no. Just drunk in a bar, being blown away that there are more heroes.
Yes, and then being removed from this universe.
Which kind of, again, cool because the same thing like we did in our intro. Tobey Maguire being blown away about, like, what the hell are the Avengers?
Yeah.
What you're talking about. Because we were solo movies.
And so with that, it does seem like Sony's going to try to stick to just doing their Venom universe thing. But they did. But let's also consider the fact that Flash Thompson is in this universe as well. So
with sweet mid-90s boy band haircut.
But you know what?
Movie,
looking a little bit more Flash Thompson.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So we have a little bit of the symbiote left behind.
A little bit.
And we'll see where they
again,
I'm drinking a little bit.
I don't know exactly how that works, because he's literally like taken out of the universe, like he's not portaled out, he's like taken out of the universe.
But they have a hive mind.
That's right.
So, you know what I mean? So this.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because Andy asked me about that. He's like, well, but that doesn't make any sense, because why was Venom there? Like, remember at the end of Let There Be Carnage, he says we have a hive mind that spans multiverses.
Exactly. Yeah. So now we have this little plethora of knowledge right there, sitting on a bar in somewhere in Mexico. We don't know. So we'll have to see where they go with that.
But again, I love that it was it wasn't, Venom didn't get a big thing to do. It was just
Tom
drunk in a bar, writing down names of superheroes like on a long piece of paper.
Yes.
Wait. And just blown away by it.
But see, again, now all that knowledge right there in this little thing. All right, so then that being said, let's go ahead and get into the 12 monkeys for this. Yes. I will start it off, and I am going to give Spider-Man No Way Home a 12 out of 12. There could be nothing less for this movie. It was just fucking fantastic.
I feel like there's 11 other numbers.
This movie was great. I mean, again, as I said earlier when we started this, if I'm going to put Endgame as 1, this is 1.5 to me. This is the just fantastic. I mean, I can't even think about how many times I've cried during movies. Toy Story 3 fucking always gets me. And I really think that with this movie, I fucking teared up more than I did a lot of movies that really had an impact on me, which just means this movie had such an impact on me.
Yeah.
And it was just, there were so many scenes that were so great, and realistically coming in, my idea of how they were going to implement these characters into the movie, and we talked about this in length about screen time and things like that, how long we feel they should be there. It was handled so well that I can't put it into words. I honestly can't. So Spider-Man No Way Home, 12 out of fucking 12. This is fucking a flawless movie. It is really fucking great. If you haven't seen it, go fucking see this. Give the box office all your money.
I won't.
Because we want to see some more Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
I'm going to see it like 3 more times. Well, we will, which is great. I'm going to see it at least 3 more times.
We have at least 3 more
times. No, I'm saying I'm seeing this.
I'm saying we have
at least 3 more times in the movie.
We have at least 3 more movies with Tom Holland as
Okay, so my turn. I don't typically like to plan out my monkeys in advance. Sometimes I do because I just know. This one I'm like, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it. I'm going to go 12 out of 12. I don't think it's flawless. I do think there are some
chef's kiss.
Some little time. No, definitely a chef's kiss. However, there's only a couple things that I have an issue with. One is editing. And it's sort of more of a problem with superhero movies or movies that I get really more hyped on, because those movies I watch the trailer and I rewatch the trailer and I'm really invested. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it so much that I'm just like I'm gobbling up the trailers. I'm gobbling up all the footage that I can get my hands on before I actually see it. There's a problem sometimes in these movies where the editors choose a line reading for the actual film that's different from the trailer, which happens a lot in this movie. Scooby-Doo this crap turned to Scooby-Doo this shit. I don't personally think I need Stephen Strange saying Scooby-Doo this shit. I was fine with him saying Scooby-Doo this crap.
Nitpicking.
It is a nitpick. I understand it's a nitpick. A couple cuts were a little bit too quick. One example is Dr. Octopus saying, "Looks like a competition." It was like, could be that like a breath, like maybe a breath. But because it is, it's like during that fight scene, it's like looks like we got a little competition. Oh, that was fast. And then one big one, and we touched on it. It is a great scene, and it does land. However, when Andrew Garfield catches MJ, that needed a little bit more of a moment.
I agree. I could see that.
Little bit more of him. Like, it does go a little slow-mo. Tom Holland gets taken out with a glider.
Yeah.
But then Andrew Garfield's right there. It needed a moment. I needed a beat of
I could absolutely see that.
Of him, like a slow motion, no. Like, and then jumping. But even though it's shown jump, it's kind of cut so quick.
Yeah.
That it wasn't given its moment. The only other thing, and I get it, you have to market things. The new suits, it was clever what they did with the black suit. It was literally just that his suit turned inside out because he got green paint on him.
Yeah.
But then when Dr. Octopus gives him the nano suit, it gives it back to him after taking it off his tentacles, it looked different, and I did not like that design at all. I'll be honest, I hate the Iron Spider design.
Oh, I love it.
From the movies. I liked the Iron Spider in the comics. Like, I thought that looked really, really cool.
I mean,
really,
I would like it better to be more appropriate. Yeah,
this sort of weird, like,
but I still think this one's great. I love it.
I didn't like it because it wasn't that same. They don't though. Because in my opinion, the suit he makes at the end of Far From Home, the black and red, that's fucking a dope suit. For sure. And it looks awesome. And then even at the end of this one, he gets a new suit, which is like, it was kind of funny because you could tell he literally made it out of spandex.
Yeah.
Because it's like bright blue and red.
Yeah.
So I know that's nitpicking. I'm still gonna give it a 12 out of 12. It's just a little nitpicking that I like to say because I like the nitpick.
Nip tuck.
I'm sorry, did I just turn it into Matt? I like the nitpick. I just did not like that costume. And maybe it's kind of, they could be a little bit differentiated during the fight. I just didn't like that look. That Jack Kirby Guardians of the Galaxy sort of look. It just, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. That black and red just looks so good.
The black and red is the best looking one, but for me,
I mean, it's the best looking one, even of Toby's and Andrews. And Andrews is a fucking good looking suit.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well,
yeah,
all right. Well, I think with that being said,
we have nothing to say about the final crush scene because
it was a trailer.
Which is
so
amazing.
I mean, stick around for it, but it's a trailer. That's why we're not gonna talk about it. So with that being said, I'm gonna spot on my way out of here. But before I do that, please make sure to like.
No, hold on, real quick. I have one more thing to say about this being the best worst kept secret ever. Give fucking kudos to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire for lying their asses off for 2 years, and then also the editor who edited the trailer, he must have been fired because he painted out Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, but forgot that lizard got kicked in the face. Good job, bro.
So with that being said, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video.
Or don't just watch it a billion times.
Oh yeah, I mean, whatever you feel is best for you. All right, have a good night, you guys.